Hi, I'm Bart Hanson, the owner and operator of CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the phone number in the description.
But
Yeah.
I didn't buy in for the uncap. I just bought in for 1,000.
Okay. Yep.
And the villain in this hand had me covered. He's been playing, I guess, all day. He's a regular
Mm-hmm.
there. And so the hand goes, I was in under the gun +2,
Okay.
looking down 2 red aces.
Yep.
And it was a limp. And then I raised it to 25 because I've been raising all night at $25.
Okay.
So I've been pretty consistent.
Yep.
The hijack coughed at 25. The
Okay.
villain in the button re-raised me to 100. So it folded all the way down back to me, and I think about four betting him, but I said, nah, this is four betting could be too. I was thinking to myself that'd be too much of a strength showing that I have a really strong hand. So I just think a little bit, and I just call him, and then of course the hijack call as well. So we went 3 ways through the flop.
Well, okay, that's interesting that you say that, but I can get behind having somewhat of a mixed strategy of calling 3 bets with your entire
Mm-hmm.
range. But here's the thing, from a theoretical standpoint, if you're going to call with aces here, then you're probably never going to 4 bet. And even though I have called just in your spot here with aces in the past, I don't do it all that often. And I probably
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't do it in this case because there's a guy in the middle. Again, I would go back to that last caller. You can just make it small. You know what I mean? Like you could make it like 275 or 300 or something like that. Or you make it larger to make it look like you've got a 4 bet bluff. But I mean, I don't know what you look like, how old you are, but a lot of guys just aren't capable of 4 bet bluffing. So, if you're
Well,
in a.
I just, I haven't been playing that long, so it's maybe about half an hour that I sat down at the table,
Mhm.
and both the hijack and the villain, in this case on the button, both have me covered. So the effective stack is like $1,500,
Right.
and
No,
both guys have me covered.
yeah, no, I understand that, but I think that's even, and then it's value too. I think that that's even more of a case for you guys are deep, so you want to 4 bet for value here.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I have obviously flatted aces to a 3 bet before, this is not the spot that I would do it in with deep stacks out of position. And when you call, there's a very good chance the hijack's going to call here too. I don't know if you're a
Yeah.
subscriber, but I'm going to go. Well, actually, I'm not. I will just probably mention it in passing on the podcast tomorrow. But there was a guy that lost $2,000 to me yesterday at Commerce when he had aces. He opened for a raise. 5 people called. A guy limp re-raised from under the gun to like 175, and instead of 3 betting or instead of 4 betting the limp re-raiser, he just called. 4 people
Oh.
called, including me, with pocket sevens in the small blind, and the board came out king 9-7. And I actually put a video of it up on Slack, and another guy went broke with ace king too, which was amazing. I got 2 guys stacks for 2,000 each with sevens on king 9-7, but it kind of
Wow.
reminds me of this hand. But yeah, like I just, you want to get aces here for value, and you want to get it more heads up here too. But you call, so
But I
now you.
haven't. Yeah. But the thing is, since haven't been playing that long and have not shown any four bet throughout my whole session, I sat down since I have this hand.
I
So
understand
I
what you're.
don't want to.
No,
Yeah.
I mean I understand what you're saying, but that's still though.
Yeah.
That's like just because you haven't been playing that long and you haven't shown down a 4 bet in a half an hour. Well, how many 4 bets do you do anyways? It's pretty rare in live poker anyways, right? That's
Very,
not.
very, very well for live poker.
Yeah, that's not an excuse to not 4 bet here from value, though, I think, in this particular scenario. But, anyways, you just call. So the pot's 300, right?
I call and the plus 300
Yeah.
plus the blinds, right? So it's a little over 300.
Okay.
And the flop came Jack 5 6 rainbow.
Okay.
So I bet 150, which is half pot.
That's interesting. I mean, you wouldn't normally make that play. You wouldn't normally lead into. This is really weird because I've talked about sometimes playing aces slow and then playing it like a set, but that's interesting because you wouldn't normally make that play where you would lead out into a 3 better. You certainly wouldn't usually do it heads up, but here it's multi-way.
Yeah, so
And would you lead
that's what
out
I'm
with a
thinking. Because
set here, like a set of fives?
if I had a set, I probably would check it.
So what's the reason for leading out with aces then? If you're
Well,
checking a
my
set,
my thought was I want to squeeze one of the guys out, and I want to play heads up.
but I
I was,
look at aces here as the same thing as a set. I mean
yeah,
you're a little bit more vulnerable obviously to some cards coming if it gets checked through, like some sort of weird two pair or something like that, or somebody hits a set on the turn. But I would tend to think that I would play aces the same way as I would play a set. Um, but okay, you lead out for 150.
so the hijack folds.
Okay.
So the button, which is the villain, he mid raised me to 300.
All right, so this is really interesting here. He min raises you to 300. This is what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
you would probably be more comfortable here with a set of sixes than aces because you only lose to pocket jacks. Here with the aces, there are three sets the guy can have that he's going to beat
Yeah.
you with.
Jack
Now, I'm not
five
saying
and
he's three
six,
betting you
right?
with fives or sixes, but he could have jacks, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
raise to, I don't know if a guy would raise top set here, to be honest with you, like almost ever. Like he could, maybe. So I can kind of
Mhm.
see this hand going a couple of different ways. Like, this is where you might lose a guy if you were to go like bet three bet. You know what I mean? You might not want to bet three bet, just like you might want to not bet three bet a set because you might lose a guy with an overpair. Although it's so strange for you to lead into a three bet pot. I don't even know if a guy is going to fold an overpair. But I would probably call and I would let his sizing on the turn dictate my play. This might smell like
Mhm.
I mean, I gotta be honest with you, I'm thinking of this in advance. I don't know what came on the turn, but if I called here and let's say the turn like paired the five or an innocuous card like a nine, and he followed up with the same bet again on the turn in position for like 300, this is where I would probably go min check raise the turn and then bet the river. If it
So
was an in between bet, you could call and then do an upfront bet on the river here too. It's a weird hand, but anyways, I'm assuming that you called on the flop here.
yeah, I think after he min raised me, so I verbally say, "What you got?" I said a jack or something verbally, and then I
Yeah.
think for like maybe almost a minute, and then I call him, of course.
Okay. Yep.
And then I verbally check in the dark before they even did a turn over the turn card.
Hmm.
I verbally say check in the dark, and
Yeah.
sure enough, the turn gave me an ace.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, an
Okay.
ace of spades. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was an ace of spades. So it's like, whoa, I verbally checked. So literally, I don't know what a card was going to come back. I just verbally checked. So verbally is mine. So Elman went back to the villain, and
Even
he
but even
think
if
for a while.
you hadn't verbally checked though, I think you almost have to check the turn though.
Yeah. If I didn't verbally
Anyways,
check, I'm gonna check
yeah.
anyway because he re-raised me twice before the flop and then after the flop.
Well, it's not just
So
that, but it's like a really bad
yeah,
card for him if he's got kings or queens. If you bet, he raises you and you call, and now all of a sudden
yeah,
you come out and lead the turn. I think a lot of guys are going to fold kings and queens there because you're playing
yeah,
back at a guy that's like showing a lot of strength. You actually just would
yes,
rather just have it go check on the turn so you can bet the river and maybe he convinces himself that you're on some sort of ridiculously busted draw. You know what I mean?
yeah. So
Yeah.
by me verbally checking in the dark, he was like, he had to think what he's gonna do next. Should
Yep.
he bet or should he check it? He
Hmm.
took longer than me to think about betting. So he bet again. Same thing, $300 on the turn.
All right. So this is what I'm talking about here. I mean, the problem here is that so this is a little bit different than so you hero checks, he bets 300. So this is a little bit different than what I talked about before, where I said that
Hmm.
if an innocuous card had come, um, if an innocuous card had come like say a five or a six or like a
Yeah.
nine, and he had bet 300, I would bump it to
Hmm.
600. Here,
Correct.
here I probably would call and then donk lead the river. Because here's the problem with check raising on the ace. It looks too strong. And people are like, what about, oh, you mean, does it look strong like on an 8 or a 9? Yeah, but if the turn comes an 8 or a 9 or an innocuous card, well, those actually 9, turns a 9 actually completes a straight draw. Say the turn is like a 6, a 5, a 4, a 3, or a deuce. Here's the difference. If you min check raise there, guys just still won't fold kings or queens. It's an overpair. But
Correct.
now, if you min check raise the turn and he's got kings or queens and he didn't know how to really react to your blind check and he bet, and now you're min check raising him, he's just going to fold. So that's the difference between that card and a low card. Low card, I would probably check raise against this sizing. An ace,
Uh-huh.
I think you probably just call and then just donk lead river. One of the few times that I would probably take this line because I think that it's just a
But that's what I actually did.
uh-huh.
After he bet 300
Yeah.
out there, because I blind checked, so he bet 300. I think for a while, and I call him again for 300. So that leaves me about a pot size bet left for the river,
So the
right?
pot now is 1,500. No, you got way less than that, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. So my starting side was 15.
Right, so you have way less than the pot. I mean, the pot is 15
Yeah,
on the river, and you've put in six,
but
7. You have
six.
800 left. You have like half pot size bet
Yeah,
left. Okay.
I have
Yeah.
pot size left. So but so it's like, well, either way, I'm gonna call this. I'm gonna have to put the remaining money in, regardless wherever the outcome of the river is, right? That was my thinking after I made a decision. I'm gonna call. I'm gonna show up anyway, regardless.
The
So
6
that's
kind of
what I did. I
completed the
called.
rainbow, right? 6 completed the
Yeah,
rainbow?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
So that's what I did. I called his 300
Yeah.
after thinking so for a while, and then I shoved the remaining
What was the
800
river?
into the pot.
What was the river?
River Jack of Hearts.
Oh, that
So
sucks
it's
for you. That actually really sucks for you. To be honest with you, like that's bad because you've played your hand like a jack. So now I would size down. It's a really really bad card for you because I don't know the way that you played the hand here. You let out on the flop. He min raised you. You called. You checked
mm-hmm.
blind on the turn. You check called. If you
Correct.
move in on the river, boy, like it's really difficult for a guy with like kings or queens to call you now because they don't beat a jack now either. I mean, it's a really strange hand. I would be very curious if I'm your opponent here because I'm like, God, this guy like seems like he might have like 7-8 here, and I always find it interesting when the top card pairs and then you all of a sudden like move all in. But I think you need to size down now. To be perfectly honest with you, even if the river hadn't been a jack, say the river had been a 5 or something, I might not put all my money in here at the end either. I might bet 5 or
You would
600 anyways on the river. Leave
have
your
almost half of the remaining money left.
like 1/3 of the
Well,
pot maybe because it looks like this
okay.
guy's got kings or queens. The given
Yeah.
there's a lot of weird live intangibles going on here on the turn. So because you check blind and he's betting the same amount again and you block the entire board, it's very difficult for him to have an ace, right? Because you have it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
So
I have it. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, that river kind of sucks for you. So I might bet like 4 or 500. Just try to get a crying call.
Yeah. So because I don't got here unless I shove remaining. I went all in, and he thinks for a while, and he verbally called randomly just think about hands.
Uh huh.
What kind of hands I have to do this. He's like, you got to be bluffing because you raise free flop, and then you got 3 bet, and you call, and then you lead out. You got raised, and you call, then you check, and you call, then you shove. And so he was like running back the hand, have the hand play out back and forth. He took like 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes to make the
Well,
decision.
I don't and I would do the same thing if I were him. It doesn't really,
Yeah.
I would. Sorry guys, he's 1,500 effective to start the hand. Some people in the chat were saying 1,000, and I would say the same thing. I would say it would be pretty peculiar for me if I was your opponent here.
hmm
Um, but then again, like, what are you bluffing with though? Like, are you the type that's opening 7-8 and then you're betting the flop and then you're calling a raise and then calling the turn and now you're all of a sudden repping a jack on the river? So a lot of times people will bluff here in this spot when the top card pairs, but they have to
Yeah.
arrive at the river somehow though. You know what I'm saying? Like what
Yeah.
are you in there with that's bluffing? You know?
Yeah.
Uh,
No. Yeah, because he was verbally calling out all kind of. He was trying to put me on all kinds of hands that he could. What I raise with free
mhm,
flop. Kind of
mhm.
thing. What did I have to call him a raise free flop and then a mid raise on the prop
Right,
and
right.
things like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
So he took a long time, and I just sit there. I was like, take your time. I'm all in, so.
right.
So I sit there and just I let him think it out loud, and then one of the players called clock on him.
Mhm.
That's not even in the hand.
And then
And
did he finally
they
fold or what?
no, he finally called, and
Yeah.
he hated it too, and he turned over Jack Queen.
He
He
turned he
he
turned
three
over
bet me with Jack Queen.
yeah. Wow, that's
He three
really
bet me
weird.
pre-flop with Jack Queen on the button.
Hmm.
That was that's to me that's pretty light.
I don't think I
But
would tank all that long with. I wouldn't tank call with Jack Queen there. I would snap call because what am I scared
yeah,
of? King Jack? Like you don't really have bottom set there all that much. I guess it's possible you could have fives or
hmm
sixes because I sometimes people will just check raise those hands on the turn. So it's
yeah,
weird. I mean, not only if I'm your opponent, not only am I calling based upon well, I'm actually more calling because it's just a removal of blockers. Like, what am I losing to you? The only hand I'm losing to is King Jack, and you're less likely to have a Jack. If he's got pocket kings or
yeah.
pocket queens, you have all your Jacks. You know what I mean? So I don't understand the tank, but anyways, it's a
Yeah,
good
I
hand.
didn't either,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was a weird hand. That's why I was gonna run by you and see what if I could have done it better.
I mean, it's interesting that he squeezed you with Queen Jack too, right?
Yeah, free flop. But yeah, there was
Yeah.
a undergun limp, and I raised it, which I've been raising, for the last half an hour,
Yeah.
$25, which is standard for
Hmm.
2 5 games, and
Yeah.
got a caller between me and him, and I guess he squeezed with Jack Queen. That to me, that's kind of light.
Well, I mean, if you listen to the last caller, though, a couple callers ago, like I said, Colin and I are doing this super advanced set of podcasts for preflop for top section. And, a case can be made mathematically that once somebody has called the initial raiser, that it might be more profitable to three bet the Broadway hands in position, especially when you're not going to get four bet all that much, as opposed to taking
hmm
those hands multi way. I don't know the answer, but it's definitely piqued my interest. So I don't think it's terrible for a guy to squeeze with that
And
hand. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA100. Click on the link right there.